One of the realest scenes I thought in all of hood movie history is that scene on the rooftop at the end of Juice. Q starts to walk away. Dude stopped him, man. He said, "Hey, you got the juice now, man." Q just shook his head. Mid-stride on the walk-off. Freeze screen. Reminisce. All four of the crew coming back from the pool hall or whatever. Fade to black. Roll credits. Perfect. Juice. This is what we want. This is what people want. They want the juice. They want connections. Not everybody who wants juice necessarily want to flex power, but they want to have some position in this life where they really got some pull. If they really need something, they don't have to jump through a whole bunch of hoops to get it. If they really need to get their hands on something, if they got juice, they can do it. If they really need to do something, if they really need to do a favor for somebody, if they really need a favor from somebody, if you got the juice, you can get it done if you got juice. With safety, you could go in areas that other people can't go in because you got juice. You got the juice. With this comes not animosity and enmity, but respect. That kind of juice. The kind of juice where a person is looked at properly, looked at with some respect, almost to the point where they got a title. Your title might be OG down the block, but the whole energy behind it is whoever you are, wherever you are, if you're carrying yourself with a decent amount of respect, respect is going to be what you get. You're going to get respect because you're carrying yourself with respect. That's the difference. You're commanding respect, not demanding respect because you don't have it. No, you just commanding respect. So you got juice. You got the juice. It's looked at like being brave. You got the juice. That's for anybody who don't know what the juice is. You plugged in. You connected. You got the juice. You got pull, as they say. You're known. You could pull strings. You got reach, influence. You could get around. You got tentacles in the game. You got skin in the game. You got a name in the game. You got the juice. Look at these four characters. Bishop, Raheem, Q, and Steel. Let's start with Steel. Let's start with Steel's deal. You know? This is the one it wasn't so much that these guys were late to school. They were skipping school altogether. So you had this whole truant energy. Same kind of energy we're going through right now. In 2023, we're going through a truant energy because a lot of schools of thought failed us because it wasn't based on philosophy as much as it was a country club concept where the only ones with power are the ones who hold tenure, not necessarily knowledge, not necessarily wisdom, which is the right application of knowledge. Not because of that, but because they've been there the longest. The steel it's like a weapon, and his weapon was what? Because he's steel, so he's supposed to be like the foundation in this truant time. You got somebody in your group that may not be looked at as the strongest, but they're in a way they're the rock. They're the rock. Wasn't nobody else calling anybody else's folks but Steels. When they needed somewhere to go, they wasn't going to Q house. They wasn't going over to Raheem spot. They definitely wasn't at Bishop's. They was going to Steel house. Steel was the one on the stove. They was going to Steel. Steel is the foundation. That's your weapon. Because you got this home care side that has to be fulfilled in order for you to have the juice. You ain't gonna have the juice for too long, or it ain't gonna be worth the squeeze if you're not respected on home turf. Still represents respect on home turf. Giving the crew somewhere to be. Because apparently this is where they be at. If they ain't at the pool hall, they at Steele's house. You heard what Raheem said. They didn't even know what they was going to eat this time. He said, well, let's just go over to the crib and see what's in the crib. Said, whether you know what's in there or not, we still coming. This is our getaway. Steele is like Peter Pan. He giving the Lost Boys somewhere to go. You know, that's Steele. Let's move on to Raheem. Just like his name says, Raheem, Ra, the leader, the sun god. That's who Raheem represented. This is also why he wore red, letting you see that fiery leadership. Raheem. You heard the way he was talking to his baby mother when she let him know that it was a wrap. You heard how he was talking. For those who seen the movie, I ain't gonna throw no spoilers out. Well, I already threw a few out, but I ain't gonna go over the whole movie. But you seen how he was and how he was really the leader. Raheem was. This is the guy that was smooth. And not for nothing, this was the guy with the lightest skin in the bunch. More alluding to the sun in terms of his brightness. Not his effect on people in terms of pigment, but the sun being as bright as it. Raheem being the leader and the lightest complexion wise. Shout out to Khalil Cain. You know, I don't even know if they, you know, they might not know that was why they were just like, hey, I'm Raheem, it is what it is. So he's the one that tells Q, good luck, man. After all of the dirt they had to, you know, deal with setting up the, you know, the robbery that they was getting ready to pull at the store. After all of that, you know, Raheem as a good leader still shows consideration for Q's DJ gig. He was like, you know what? I know we trying to get to it, and we got to do something to get something. But all in all, I respect what you're doing, because you ain't gonna never get arrested for DJing. Holding up a convenience store, it can happen every time. You just saw what happened. You ain't see what happened, but you heard what happened to Blizzard earlier in the movie. And somehow they was led to do this, to pull a robbery after one of their acquaintances was killed trying to pull a robbery. Desperation. Now let's move over to Bishop, who is anybody's favorite character. This is the magnetic, the unforgettable Tupac Shakur, ladies and gentlemen. This guy was excellent at everything. In a perfect universe, I got him and DMX co-starring in movies together, in shows and series. And I ain't writing much in the way of a script at all. I'm just gonna give them a banging storyline and be like, yo, be Tupac, and you know what I mean, and you be DMX, and I'm a step out the way. Man, could you imagine? They have a monopoly on it, and it'd be just right. So Bishop, interesting piece on the chessboard. This is where the separation between what they call church and state, right? Because there's another hidden power in economics, but you got to go through a religious shield to get it. Pay attention to the beginning of Godfather 3 very closely. How Michael Corleone was knighted, but it was all just to move him into multi-million-dollar business deals where hundreds of millions of dollars needed to be cleaned and moved over. But you had to go through the church. You know what I mean? You had to go through the church. I know that sounds ugly. I know it do. Ugly truths. I know. But all in all, yeah, that's what it was. He had to go through that to put himself in position to be untouchable economically. Where they throwing around hundreds of millions of dollars, hundreds of millions. They throwing it around. They playing with that kind of money. This is where, among the super rich, they have a different dollar. They have a different dollar term for their money. They want to know how many bucks do you have. And they don't mean single dollars. A buck stands for a billion. Person be like, well, how you doing, man? I did okay. $5. $5? That's not too bad. You not understanding it. You hear it from the outside. You're like, $5? Ooh, his Maserati must have been free. But no, they're talking about, a dollar amount that got 9 zeros before the decimal. That's what they're talking about. That kind of money. Billions. What Cat Williams say? Billions that's so much money. The mention of it should kill you. Billion. Like bullets. Billion. Laughed until I almost broke a rib the first time he told that joke. But yeah, you have to go through that shield to get to the level of certain money is going to get a little religious. Yeah, it is. There's going to be some cloaks and some collars. If you're going to go way up in the money, you're going to be dealing with people. What the guy say in the boost? He said, man, these men ain't too trusting. He said they wear suspenders and belts. They wear suspenders and belts. Yeah, so that's in the realm of the bishop. And with all of that Hegelianism going, because that's what was going on with Bishop. He had his crew. He loved his crew. He wanted to rise high, but he felt inferior because, he had beef. He had to deal with the other rival crew in the hood that was always pressing him, always wrinkling his jacket. And he still was acting tough. So when he finally got that gun in his hand, it was all over. And this is what happens when power gets out of control, because that is the illustration that I'm really trying to point to with the character of Bishop. How with that suppression of what many religious environments are, and you mix that in with power, oh baby, you got a monster. You got the beast. Some horns are broken, some heads are wounded, but you got a monster built out of all kind of stuff. Body of a leopard, feet of a bear, wings like an eagle. A whole, a monstrosity of grotesque proportions. This is what you get in the realm of the bishop. So this is why he was 730, as they say. He was just off the handle. He always had that inferiority going on. And you always got to be leery of people who got too much or nothing to lose. They got nothing to lose. Sometimes it is that they have too much to lose and they just don't realize that. But they are acting out of desperation. You mix desperation in with insecurity, you get a bishop, not a king, not a rook, not a knight, not a pawn. A bishop will look at anybody like a pawn the way they move on the chessboard. Their movements is, you know what I mean? They moving how they moving. But it ain't like a regular game of checkers. I think they do some diagonal stuff. I'm not a chess master, but I think they do some diagonal stuff, some zigzagging on you. They moving crazy on the board. Those bishops. So yeah, that was Bishop. And as you see, he was just on a mission wreaking havoc, as you saw if you saw Juice. So on the way to get Juice, somebody might spike your cup. Inferiority might spike your cup. Being envious might spike your cup, might spike your juice. And you go from being cool to being crazy. Last but not least, we got Q. Omar Epps, we got Q. What does Q represent? The unpopular right one. Unpopular, yes. When you take just the letter Q and you put it in a social media context, you got QAnon and the Q group, right? Don't they usually have a lot of controversy surrounding them? Oh, those are those Q people talking about this and that. I ain't even gonna mention no names or nothing like that, but it get real political around here when they start bringing them single letters up. So Q was kind of like Q. He was with the crew. He was down to skip school, but he ain't trying to rob nobody. He ain't into none of that. He trying to do his DJ thing. He trying to get it off the muscle. He understand that they in a true situation. He understand that the ages of the schools of thought failed them. He sees that. But that don't mean that he trying to be an anarchist out here either. He just trying to find his own way. He just trying to scratch some records. He's Q, GQ. You know, he's trying to use old records and make new records from old records. He's the alchemist in the movie. He's Q. He's the DJ. He's scratching the records, working with the chemicals, right? Beat the dude with a with some kind of African drum rhythm type of thing. You know what I mean? The guy, he was up against a DJ that was formidable, if you remember in the movie, until he started scratching using that calypso type of styled beat. He had to go dig deep in the crates, and he had to reach for something rare to win in an oversaturated arena. It was tons of DJs, and there was even better DJs than Q and the other guy that was waiting. When Q was getting arrested over all of the drama that happened with Raheem being killed and the convenience store being held up, that guy that he was getting ready to go up against, everybody in the street say he was going to lose to that guy. The guy that was like, bam, 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 bam. Q was going to lose to him. Q was going to lose to him. Because, and he got like the Big Daddy Kane, like, enough, or Rakim, enough respect, enough. Yeah, he scratched that for like a minute and 30 seconds straight. Enough respect, enough respect, rocking the crowd, enough respect. And he was scratching hard. Q wasn't beating him. So this is Q. And eventually, what did he have to do? Take Bishop out. Not take him out because he wasn't trying to kill him, but he knew he had to neutralize Bishop. Bishop was out of control on that chessboard. He was trying to take out the pawn, the rook, the knight, the king, and the queen. He was trying to take everything off the board. That's how Bishop was. And so Q's Q, to save what was left of the crew, was to stand up against Bishop. There was a little cat and mouse going on to the point where Q just ended up throwing the hammer away in the lake, which was not a good decision, I thought. But hey, because eventually, I think that's still manslaughter or something like that. I don't know how self-defense and he going off the roof. I don't know. They left it open like that, which was very traumatizing because like, man, Q went through all of that and we still don't know what's going to happen to him. Ain't no part twos from that. They was like, we ain't even going to give y'all part two. We just going to leave y'all hanging. And that's rough because it's like, what you do after that? So, in a nutshell, that's Juice. And I just wanted to touch on some of the characters, some of their plot points, and how that pertains to now. Pardon me. So having the Juice, that's a four-part monster, so to speak. Steel, foundation, protect the home. Raheem, Ra, you got to shine. You got to lead those that are under you, lead your crew. But you also know that as Bishop, you're dealing with the Hegelian dialectic, and you have to move between different spheres of power. So you got to know how to code switch as a bishop so that you don't go crazy. And last but certainly not least, you have to be on cue to know when these parts need to be activated. This is Super T Sigma of Sigma Programming. I thank you for your time and attention. Reaching is teaching. If it takes 1 million videos to reach 1 million views, so be it. But know yourself for yourself and continue to vibrate high, people. Peace.